workers were in turmoil. Enlil sent Anu secret words about his concern and beamed them from Nibiru to Anu. Enki and Marduk have gone to the moon. For countless orbits now, they are staying. What they are doing is a mystery. What they are scheming is not known. Marduk has abandoned the way station on Lamu, on Mars, the Agigi or Agog. By dust storms, the way station has been affected. What damage there is to us is not known. The place of the chariots in the Eden must be established. Therefrom, the gold can be carried directly from Earth to Nibiru. No way station on Mars shall henceforth be needed. The plan of Ninurta it is. Great matters, great understanding in these matters he has. Let him establish a place of the chariots near the bad Tibiara establishment. Let Ninurta be its first commander. Anu gave much consideration to the words of Enlil and said to him, Enki and Marduk are returning to the earth. What have they found out about the moon? From the moon, Enki and Marduk departed and returned to earth. Of the conditions there, they gave an account. A way station is unfeasible now, they reported. Let the place of the chariots be built, Anu was saying. Let Marduk be its commander, Enki was saying to Anu. The task is set aside for Ninurta, Enlil was shouting angrily. For the Agigi, the Anunnaki workers, their command is no longer needed. Marduk has knowledge of these tasks. Of the gateway to heaven, let Marduk be in charge. So Enki did say to his father. Anu contemplated the matter with much concern. Rivalries have now affected the sons. With wisdom, Anu was endowed. With wisdom were his directions. The place of the chariots for the new ways the gold is to handle is designated. Let us henceforth come in the hands of a new generation place. Neither Enlil nor Enki, neither Ninurta nor Marduk shall be in command. Let the third generation take responsibility. Let Utu be the commander. Let the celestial place of the chariots be built. Let Sipar, the bird city, be its name. This was the word of Anu, unalterable. It was the word of a king. In the 81st Shar, or year of Nibiru, was the construction started. The plans of Enlil it followed. Nibiru Key was in the center. A navel of the earth by Enlil it was designated. As on circles by their place and distances in the olden cities they were located. Which is another reference to what we discussed earlier here in the book with the creation of the face on Mars. See, they like to, the interesting thing about, according to these texts, is that the Anunnaki had they had a hard-on for building stuff in similar locations as to how they built it on Nibiru. It's very premeditated. See, this is why you had the face on Mars on the 33-degree parallel on the place on Mars known as Cydonia, where pyramids were also found. And then, of course, in the area of ancient Mesopotamia, which is now Iraq, it was once firstly known as Cydonia as well, also located on the 33rd-degree parallel. So they really had a penchant for building things where you know, they liked building things that was familiar to them. They would build things, it seemed, that were very close and similar to how they had it on their own planet, so it would remind them of that. Like an arrow from the lower sea, they were arrayed pointing towards the mountains. A line on the twin peaks of Arata to the skies in the north reaching, he drew. Where the pointing arrow, the Arata line intersected. The place for Sipar, the earth's place of the chariots, he marked out. To it, the arrow directly led from Nibiru Key by an equal circle, precisely located. Ingenious was the plan. By its precision, all were made to wonder. In the 82nd Shar, the construction of Separ was completed. To the Hero Utu of Enlil, the grandson, its command was given. An eagle's helmet was fashioned for him, and with eagle's wings he was decorated. It was the first chariot from Nibiru to come directly from Separ, and Anu was traveling there as well, to view for himself the installations that he desired and to marvel at what was attained that he wanted. For the occasion, the Agigi by Marduk commanded from Mars to come to Earth. From the landing place from the Abzu, the Anunnaki were assembled. There was backslapping and hailing, a feast and a celebration. For Anu Mana, Enlil's granddaughter, singing and dancing presented. With affection, Anu kissed her. Anu Nitu, Anu's beloved, he fondly called her. Before departing, Anu assembled the heroes and the heroines. A new era has begun, he was saying to them. Supplied directly with the golden salvation, forthcoming is the end of our toil. Once enough gold for protecting has been piled in storage on Nibiru, the toil on earth can be diminished. Heroes and heroines can return to Nibiru. Thus did Anu the king promise the assembled and extend a great hope for the future to them. A few more shars of toil, and homeward bound they shall be. With much pomp did Anu to Nibiru soar back. Gold, pure gold, with him was carried. His new task, Utu, with cherish performed. Ninurta of Bad Tibara retained command. Marduk did not return to Lamu with his father. Over the lands he wished to roam in his skyship to comprehend the earth. So he just said, fuck it, I'm not going back. I'm going to fly around Earth and see if I can go set myself up as a god somewhere, I'll find myself a fucking primitive people, give them technology, give them some little knowledge, have sex with their daughters, and set myself up as a god. Fuck, I got things to do. I'm out. This sounds like that's exactly what these guys did, right? Of the Agigi, some on Mars and some on Earth, Utu was made the commander of. Anu returned to Nibiru. He had great expectations of the leaders on Earth. With renewed vigor, they returned to their labor. Gold began to quickly amass, and thereby the Anunnaki believed they were going to be homeward bound quicker. It says gold, it just, it words it in a weird way, but that's what they're saying. That, alas, was not what came to pass. And the Abzu relief, not continued toil, was the Anunnaki's expectation. Now that the earthlings are proliferating, let them provide the labor. So were the Anunnaki and the Abzu saying. In the Eden, the tasks were greater. More abodes, more provisions were required. For primitive workers, to the Abzu, they were confined. In the Eden, the heroes clamored. For 40 shars, only relief the Abzu provided. The heroes in the Eden shouted, our toil has increased beyond endurance. Let us have the workers too. While Enlil and Enki were debating the matter, Ninurta took the decision into his own hands. With 50 heroes, he led an expedition to the Abzu. They were armed with weapons. In the forests and the steppes of the Abzu, they chased the earthlings. They captured them with nets, male and female, and brought them to the Eden. They made them do all manner of chores in the orchids in the cities and trained them. Enlil was angered by these doings. Enlil was enraged. My expelling of Adamu and Tiamat, Adam and Eve, you have overturned. So Enlil said to Ninurta, let the mutiny once in the Abzu occurring not in the Eden be repeated. With the earthlings in the Eden, the heroes have been calmed. A few more shars, and it will no longer matter, Enlil said to Ninurta. Enlil was not appeased with the grumbling. He said, "Let it so be," to his son. "Let the gold pile up quickly. Let us all soon return to Nibiru." In the Eden, the Anunnaki and the Earthlings were in the Eden, the Anunnaki were observing the Earthlings with admiration. They possessed intelligence, and of commands they had understanding. They took over all manner of chores, unclothed they were for the tasks that they were performing. Males with females among them were constantly mating, and quick were their proliferations. They're just, doing work and fucking and doing work and fucking. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? That's what they get us to do. Go to work, fuck, go to work, fuck, go to work, fuck, go to work, fuck. No wonder that's all we do. In one shar, sometimes 4, sometimes more were their generations. As the Earthlings grew in numbers, the workers that the Anunnaki had with the food, the Anunnaki were not satiated. In the cities and in the orchard, in the valleys and in the hills, the Earthlings for food were constantly foraging. In those days, grains had not yet been brought forth. There was no ewe, a lamb had not been fashioned yet. So they're basically saying here that they're genetically responsible for creating, the animals that we use for food. That's an interesting thought. About these matters, Enlil was saying angry words to Enki. By your doings, confusion was created. You must devise a salvation. So that stops there. Now, this is the account of how civilized man was brought about. Now, this is going to get really juicy and interesting here, folks. How by a secret of Enki, Adapa and Titi in the Eden were brought forth. By the proliferation of the Earthlings, Enki was pleased. He was also worried. The lot of the Anunnaki was greatly eased. Their discontent was diminished. By the proliferation, the Anunnaki shunned the toil. The workers were becoming serfs. For 7 shars, the Anunnaki's lot was greatly eased. Diminished was their discontent. By the proliferation of the Earthlings and how fast they were growing, the food was insufficient. In 3 more shars of fish and fowl, there was a shortage. What by itself grows, Anunnaki and Earthlings did not satiate. In his heart, Enki was scheming a new undertaking to create a civilized mankind that he had conceived in his heart. Grains that are sown by them be cultivated. Ewes that become sheep, let them shepherd. In his heart, Enki was scheming a great undertaking and contemplating how to attain it. The primitive workers in the Abzu he observed for this scheme. The Earthlings in the Eden, in the cities, and in the orchards he considered. What for the tasks made them suited? By what life essence has not been combined? The offspring of the Earthlings he observed. An alarming matter he noticed. By their repeated copulations back toward their wild forebears, they were degraded. So they're de-evolving with each successive generation. Enki looked about the marshlands. He sailed on the rivers and observed. It was only him and his vizier who kept secrets. On the river's bank, bathing and frolicking Earthlings, he noticed. 2 females among them were wild with beauty. Firm were their breasts. The sight that the phallus of Enki caused to water, their sight caused the phallus of Enki to water. That's some funny shit, dude. I told you guys. 5,000-year-old alien porn is just great. So he rolls up and sees these chicks and their tits out bathing in the water, And he just nuts himself right there. I mean, that's what it says. He saw him, was like, just auto rubbed one out just right there, dude. Their sight caused the phallus of Enki to water. I want to hear. I'd like to hear Captain Kirk say that line. The sight caused the phallus of Enki to water. A burning desire he had. Shall I not kiss the young ones? Enki was asking. I will row the boat for you to kiss the young ones, Izimud said to Enki. Enki stepped onto dry land. A young one, Enki called to him, a tree from the fruit she offered him. Enki bent down to the young one and embraced her and kissed her lips. Lips, sweet were her lips, firm with ripeness were her breasts. Into her womb he poured his semen. In a mating he knew her. Into her womb she took the holy semen. By the semen of the Lord Enki she was impregnated. The second young one called to him. She offered him berries from the field. Enki bent down and embraced her and kissed her on the lips. Sweet were her lips, firm with ripeness were her breasts. This guy didn't waste any time, man. He rolls up, sees him, kisses on the lips, and just proceeds to pouring the semen. Not squirting it or spurting it, just straight pouring it, as if Enki's just rolling around with like pitchers full of sperm, dude. Here, I'm going to pour this shit in you, girl. Bend over. I mean, that's fucking dirty. Into her womb he poured his semen. In a mating he knew her. Into her womb she took the holy semen. By the semen of the Lord Enki she was impregnated. Stay with the young ones and ascertain whether or not their pregnancies come about, Enki said to Vizier. Izimud sat down by the young ones. By the fourth count, their bulges appeared. By the 10th count, the 9th having been completed, the first young one squatted and gave birth. By her, a male child was born. The second young one squatted and gave birth. By her, a female child was born. At dawn and dusk, on the same day, the two were born. So one was born at dawn, the other at dusk. The gracious ones, dawn and dusk, thereafter in legends they were known. In the 93rd shard, the two that were fathered by Enki were born in the Eden. Word of the births Izimud quickly brought to Enki. By their births, Enki was ecstatic. Whoever has known such a thing? Between Anunnaki and Earthling, conception was attained. Civilized man I have brought into being. That's an important distinction, you know. That's where the whole thing with the Nephilim and stuff comes in. Anunnaki created man. They did genetic manipulation to create a worker race. Then after the worker race had been, basically multiplying itself, Enki steps in, gets two of these pregnant, and then that's where you had the first real crossbreeding come in. A lot of people forget that. It seems that, according to the Anunnaki, we're a result of not just a genetic creation, but then a crossbreeding between them after the creation took place. A lot of times people leave that out. I think that's a very, very important thing to understand. It's not just that they created us through genetic manipulation. Once they created us, they had sex with us and made a crossbreed. Civilized man I have brought into being. Enki gave instructions to Izimud. A secret my deed must remain. Let the newborns be suckled by their mothers. Therefore, after that, bring them into my household. Among the bulrushes and reed baskets I have found them. Thus to all you will say, by their mothers, the newborns they were suckled and nurtured. To Enki's household in the Ridu, Ismid brought the children. Ninki took the foundlings took a liking to the foundlings as her own children and raised them. Adapa, the foundling, the boy she called, Titi, one with life, the girl she named. Unlike all other earthling children, the twosome were. Slower to grow up than earthlings they were, much quicker in understanding. They were endowed with intelligence. They were capable of speaking with words. Beautiful and pleasant was the girl, and her hands were greatly dexterous. Ninki, the spouse of Enki, to Titi took a liking. All manner of crafts to her she was teaching. To Adapa, Enki himself gave the teachings. How to keep records he was instructing him in. The achievements with pride Enki to Izimid was showing. A civilized man I have brought forth. A new kind of earthling from my seed has been created in my image and after my likeness. There you go. Man was created in God's image. There you go. From seed, they will grow food. From ewes and sheep, they will shepherd. Anunnaki and earthlings henceforth shall all be satiated. Enki sent word to Enlil, and from Nibiru to the Eridu, Enlil came. In the wilderness, a new kind of earthling has come forth, to Enlil, Enki was saying. Quick of learning they are, knowledge and craftwork to them can be taught. Let us bring down seeds to be sown from Nibiru. Let us bring ewes that sheep can come from Nibiru to earth and deliver them. Let us the new breed of earthlings farming and shepherding teach. Let the Anunnaki and earthlings together satiated be, so Enki was saying to Enlil. Akin to us Anunnaki in many ways, indeed they are, Enlil said to his brother. A wonder of wonders it is, in the wilderness by themselves they have come about. Izimud was summoned. Among the bulrushes and the reed baskets I found them, he said. Enlil pondered the matter with graveness. With amazement, his head he shook. Indeed, a wonder of wonders it is. A new breed of earthling on earth has emerged. A civilized man has the earth itself brought forth. Farming and shepherding, crafts and tool making he can be taught. Let us send word of the new breed to Anu, Enki said to Enlil. Of the new breed, word was beamed from earth to Anu on Nibiru. Let seeds that can be sown and sheep come to earth, he said. And so Enki did make a suggestion, and so Enki and Enlil to Anu made the suggestion. By civilized man, let Anunnaki and earthlings become satiated. Anu heard the words and was amazed by them. That by life essences one kind to another leads is not unheard of. To them he sent word back that on earth a civilized man from the Adamu so quickly appeared, that is unheard of. For sowing and husbanding, great numbers are needed. Perchance the beings are unable to proliferate. Did I lose my spot? No, I didn't. It just scrolled down too far. Give me just a second. While the savants on Nibiru contemplated the matter, in Eridu, occurrences of import took place. Adapa, in a mating, Titi knew into her womb, he poured his semen. Uh-oh. More semen pouring going on, more crossbreeding going on. There was conception, there was birth giving. To twins, two brothers, Titi gave birth. Word of the birth to Anu was beamed to Nibiru. The twosome for conception are compatible. Proliferation by them can occur. Let on earth farming and shepherding begin. Let us all be satiated. So Enki and Enlil on Nibiru did say to Anu. Let Titi in Eridu remain. The newborns are to be suckled and nurtured. Let Adapa, the earthling, to Nibiru be brought. Anu did declare his decision. So that's the end of the 7th tablet. We'll read the synopsis of the 8th tablet, and we'll get into that next time on the broadcast. This is the synopsis of the 8th tablet. Adapa's wide understanding amazes Nibiru's savants. On Anu's orders, Adapa is brought to Nibiru, an Earthling's first ever space journey. Enki reveals Adapa's parenting truth to Anu, and Enki justifies his deed by the need for more food. Adapa is sent back to start farming and shepherding. Enlil and Enki create crop seeds and sheep lines. Ninurta teaches Ka in crop cultivation. Marduk teaches Abel shepherding and tool making. Fighting over water, Cain strikes and kills Abel. Cain and Abel, Cain and Abel, Kain and Abel. Yeah. Ha ha. Cain and Abel, there you go. Cain is tried for murder, sentenced to exile. Adapa and Titi have other offspring who intermarry. On his deathbed, Adapa blesses his son Sati as his heir. A descendant, Enkimine, is taken from Marduk to Lamu. So, crazy, crazy stuff there. And, wow. Getting more into the genetic manipulation. And apparently, you know, that's where we start to see the problem. The original, a lot of times historians and researchers don't specify this. They created the original workers to mine the gold. That was it. Enki found them beautiful and decided to do some crossbreeding, have a little fun, get his dick wet, and boom. Then you have apparently have modern, what we call modern civilized human beings. I don't know what makes it so civilized, but that's what they say anyway. And apparently, as the story goes, they ordered man to be wiped out, and it didn't happen. So it seems that we're just here as a result of a bunch of these aliens from some other civilization just dicking around and rolling dice, and now we're here. That's just great, isn't it? Well, hey, that's going to do it for the show tonight. Please support our work if you can. Thanks so much to everybody who has supported us. Yeah. Let Adapa the earthling be brought to Nibiru. Anu declared. Enlil was not pleased by this decision. Who would have ever thought that this would happen? That by a primitive worker fashioning like us, we would become with knowledge endowed between heaven and earth to travel. On Nibiru, the waters of long life he will drink. The food of long life he will eat. Let one of us Anunnaki become the one of earth. So was Enlil to Enki in the other lady saying that by the decision of Anu, Enki too was not pleased. Sullen was his face after Anu had spoken. After Enlil had spoken, Enlil agreed with his brother Enki. Indeed, who would have thought of this? The others said to Enki. The brothers sat and contemplated. Ninmah was also deliberating with them. The command of Anu cannot be avoided to them, she said. Let Adapa by our young ones to Nibiru be accompanied, his fright to diminish, to Anu things to explain. So Enki did say to the others, let Ningishzida and Dumuzi his companions be. By the way, Nibiru for the first time, with their eyes they shall also see. By Ninmah was the suggestion favored. Our young ones born on earth of Nibiru are forgetting its life cycles by those of earth and are overwhelmed. Let the two sons of Enki, as yet unmarried, also travel to Nibiru. Perchance brides there for themselves they shall find. When the next celestial chamber from Nibiru arrived in Sipar, Elabrat, a vizier of Anu, stepped off from the chamber. I have come to earth to fetch the earthling Adapa, he said to the leaders. The leaders to Labrat presented Adapa. Titi and her sons to them they also showed. Indeed, in our image and after our likeness they are. So did Elabrat say. To Elabrat, Ningishzida, and Dumuzi, sons of Enki, were presented. To accompany Adapa on his journey they have been selected, he said to Enki. Anu, his grandchildren, Anu will be very pleased to see his grandchildren. So did Alabrast also say. To hear instructions, Enki summoned Adapa to him. To Adapa he said, Adapa, to Nibiru, the planet which we had come, you will be going. Before Anu, our king, you will come. To his majesty you will be presented. Before him you shall bow. Speak only when asked. To questions give short answers. New clothing will be given to you. Put on these new garments. A bread on earth not found they will give to you. The bread is death. Do not eat it. In a chalice, an elixir to drink they will give to you. This elixir is death. Do not drink it. With you, Ningishzida and Dumuzi, my sons, will journey. Hearken to their words, and you shall live. So did Enki instruct Adapa. This I shall remember, Adapa said. Enki, Ningishzida, and Dumuzi summoned. They summoned the Adapa and gave him a blessing and advice. Before I knew the king, my father, you are coming. To him you shall bow and pay homage. By princes and nobles, do not be coward. Of them you are equals. To bring Adapa back to earth is your mission. By Nibiru's delights, be not charmed. This we shall remember, Ningishzida and Dumuzi said. His young one, Dumuzi, Enki embraced and kissed him on the forehead. The wise one, Ningishzida, Enki embraced on the forehead, he kissed him. A sealed tablet he placed, unseen, in the hand of Ningishzida. To my father Anu, this tablet in secret you shall give. So Enki did say to Ningishzida. Then the two with Adapa to Sippar departed. To the place of the celestial chariots they went. To Ilbrat, Anu's vizier, the three of them themselves presented. To Ningishzida and Dumuzi, the garb of Agigi was given. Like celestial eagles they were dressed. As for Adapa, his unkept hair was shaven. A helmet as that of an eagle he was given. Instead of a loincloth, a tight-fitting vestment he was made to wear. Between Ningishzida and Dumuzi, inside that which ascends, he was placed. When the signal was given, the celestial chariot roared and shuddered. In fright did Adapa cower and cry out, the eagle without wings is soaring. This guy's flying in a fucking UFO and freaking out. Holy shit, we're flying off the ground. Oh my God. You know, somebody with no reference for technology, it's unbelievable. Upon his sides, Ningishzida and Dumuzi placed their arms, and with soothing words they calmed him. When 1 league aloft they were born, upon the earth they glanced out, its lands they saw, by seas and oceans, into parts separated. When 2 leagues aloft they were, the ocean to a tub grew smaller. The land was the size of a basket. When 3 leagues aloft they were again, they cast a glance whence they had departed. The earth was now the size of a ball. And by a sea of darkness in the vastness it was swallowed. Once again, Adapa was agitated. He cowered and cried out, "Take me back," he shouted. Ningishzida put his hand on the neck of Adapa. In an instant, Adapa was quiet. He put the fucking, Vulcan grip of death on him. He's, take me back, zip. Just knocked his ass out. Captain, this Adapa is not logical. When they landed on Nibiru, there was much, much curiosity. The children of Enki, born on earth, they wanted to see, even more so to encounter an earthling. A being from another world has arrived on Nibiru, the crowds were shouting. With LArendsian to the palace, they were taken to be washed and perfumed with oils and anointed. Fresh, befitting garments they were given. Heeding Enki's words, Adapa put on the new clothing. In the palace, nobles and heroes milled about. In the throne room, princes and counselors gathered. To the throne room by LArendsian they were led. Adapa behind him, then the two sons of Enki. In the throne room before Anu, the king, they bowed. From his throne, Anu stepped forward. My grandsons, he cried out. He hugged Dumuzi, he hugged Ningishzida. With tears in his eyes, he embraced them, he kissed them. To his right, Dumuzi, he bade to be seated. On his left, Ningishzida sat. Then LArendsian to Anu, the earthling, Adapa presented. Does he understand our speech? Anu inquired. Indeed he does. By the Lord Enki he was taught. LArendsian so answered. Come hither, Anu to Adapa said. What is your name and your occupation? Adapa stepped forward. He again bowed. Adapa is my name. Of the Lord Enki I am a servant. So did Adapa speak in words. His speaking was causing great amazement. A wonder of wonders on earth has been attained, Anu declared. A wonder of wonders on earth has been attained. All the assembled shouted. Let there be a celebration. Let us, our guests, thus welcome, Anu was saying. To the banquet room, Anu, all who were assembled, led to the laden tablets that he happily gestured. You know, I just want to say this. Let's stop right there. Just going through my head as I'm reading this. You know, if there's nothing to all of this Enki stuff and Eon, if there's absolutely nothing to it, this is all hogwash. The fact that our planet is, we call our planet Earth, which has the root Ea, Enki in it, the realm of Enki, the realm of Ea, that if it's all bullshit, man, that's kind of coincidental, don't you think? At the laden table bread of Nibiru, Adapa was offered. He did not eat it. At the laden table's elixir of Nibiru, Adapa was offered. He did not drink it. Anu was puzzled by this and was offended. Why has Enki sent this ill-mannered earthling to earth? To reveal the celestial ways to him? Come now, Adapa, Anu said. Why did you neither eat nor drink and reject our hospitality? My master, the Lord Enki, commanded me, the bread do not eat, the elixir do not drink. So Adapa did say to Anu, how odd is this thing, Anu was saying, for what has Enki from an earthling our food and elixir prevented? He asked LArendsian, he asked Dumuzi. LArendsian did not know the answer. Dumuzi could not explain either. He asked Ningishzida, perchance in this lies the answer, Ningishzida said to Anu. The secret tablet that he carried hidden to Anu, to give to Anu the king. Anu was puzzled and concerned. He went to his private chamber with the tablet to attempt to decipher it. Now, this is the account of Adapa, of civilized mankind, the progenitor, and how by his sons Cain and Abel, satiation on earth was started. In his private chamber, Anu broke the tablet seal open. Into the scanner tablet, he inserted it and began to decipher the message from Enki. Adapa by my seed to an earthling woman was born. So did the message from Enki say. Likewise was Titi by another earthling woman of my seed conceived. With wisdom and speech they are endowed. With Nibiru's long lifetime they are not. The bread of long life giving he should not eat. The elixir of long life he should not drink. To live and die on earth Adapa must return. Mortality his lot must be. But the sowing and shepherding of his offspring on earth, satiation shall be known. So Enki did reveal the secret of Adapa to his father. The fact that, everybody was under the impression that this just, they just came about as the result of their original genetic tinkering to create a worker race, when in reality, this came as a result not of the genetic tinkering, but of Enki sticking his penis in multiple genetic offspring and then creating a whole new species, which was a bred from the Anunnaki and the created slave race. Thus, supposedly, now we have human beings. But the secret message from Enki, Anu was astounded. He didn't know whether to be angry, to laugh. He didn't know what to do. Ilibrat, his vizier, to his private chamber he summoned and said to him, "That son of mine, Ea, even as Enki, his free ways with females has not mended." Ea is like his bitch name. That's what they call him back on Nibiru. Enki's like his formal, soldier god name. Ea is like a nickname, like Bubba, He has not mended his free ways with the females. To Ilibrat, his vizier, the message on the tablet was shown. What are the rules? What is the king to do? Anu inquired. Concubines by our rules are permitted. Of interplanetary cohabitation, no rules exist. He's like, hey, he's like, well, this may be a problem, but, we've never encountered this situation before, so we don't, there isn't technically a law that says you can't go stick your penis in something that came from another planet, so you really can't get mad about this. So Ilibrat did respond to the king, if there's damage done, then let it be restricted, and if there isn't, then fuck it, why not? Let Adapa forthwith be returned to the earth, and let Ningazida and Dumuzi stay longer. Anu then summoned Ningazida to his private chamber. Do you know what your father's message said of Ningazida he acquired? Ningazida lowered his head with a whispering voice. He said, I know not, but I can guess. The life essence of Adapa I have tested, of Enki's seed he is. That indeed is the message, Anu said to him. Adapa to earth forthwith shall return. To be of civilized man a progenitor, his destiny shall be. As for you, Ningazida, to earth with Adapa you shall return. Of civilized mankind at your father's side, you will become the teacher. Anu, the king, made the decision, and the destiny of Adapa and Ningazida he determined. To the assembled savants, nobles, princes, and counselors, Anu and the other two returned. To the assembled words of decision, Anu announced, the welcome to the earthling must not be overextended. On our planet, he cannot eat or drink. Of his outstanding abilities we have all seen, let him now return to earth. Let his offspring there on earth till and feel the meadows and shepherd the meadows. To ensure his safety and avoid his agitation, Ningishzida will be back with him and travel with him back to earth. With him, the seeds of Nibiru grains which multiply on earth will be sent. Dumuzi, the youngest, for a shar, will stay with us. Then to earth with ewes and the essence of sheep he shall return. This was the decision of Anu. To the king's words, all in agreement bowed their heads. At the appointed time, Ningazina and Adapa returned to the celestial chariot and were taken to earth. Anu and Dumuzi, Ilibrat, and counselors, nobles, and heroes all bade them farewell. There was roaring and shuddering, and the chariot was lofted. The planet Nibiru grew smaller as they saw it from horizon to zenith, and they saw the heavens as well. On their journey, Ningazida explained the planet gods to Adapa. So right there, they confirm what we talked about earlier in the book, the idea that the planets being gods. So he explained that the planet, explained to Adapa, the planets being the gods themselves. What was that one person that says that email? Oh, the planets are Satan. Of sun and earth and the arid moon, he gave lessons. Of how the months chase one another and how earth's year is counted, he taught to him. When they returned to earth, Ningazita explained to his father Enki all that had happened. Enki laughed and struck his loins. It all went as I expected, with glee, he said. Except the detention of Dumuzi. That is a puzzle, so Enki did say. By the prompt return of Ningazita and Adapa, Enlil was greatly puzzled. What is the matter? What on Nibiru transpired? Of Enki, Ningazita inquired. Let Ninma too be summoned. Let me hear from her also what transpired, Enki said to him. So we're going to stop right there, and we're going to pick up next time on the show, page 180, 180. Remember that, chat room Denzians, because I probably won't remember it, and I probably won't go back and listen to the archive, but page 180, 180, 180. We will pick up there on the broadcast tomorrow. Man, good stuff. Just good stuff there tonight. I'm glad I decided to read that stuff, but man, just continues to get interesting and interesting. And again, the reason I've decided to read this is for this exact reason, gaining a greater understanding about this stuff and separating from ourselves, what we believe is the fact or fiction concerning what is in these Sumerian clay tablets. And I always, have been a firm believer in putting stuff out there in the court of public opinion and letting people decide for themselves what's what. Instead of having somebody decide for you, this is all crap, this is all horse shit, you shouldn't look into it, you shouldn't read about it. Well, maybe there's a reason why they've been telling us that all along. Obviously, I think with the CMP priest class information, we can now confirm that pretty well. What is the matter? What transpired on the Nibiru? Ningazita was inquiring of Enki. Let Ninma too be summoned, and let us hear of what transpired from her, Enki said to him. After Ninma arrived, she told all to Enlil and Ningazita. She also related Enki's cohabitation with earthling females. No rules I have broken. Our satiation I have ensured. So Enki said to them, no rules did you break. The fates of Anunnaki and earthlings by a rash deed you determined. So did Enlil in anger say, now the lot is cast. Destiny by fate is overtaken. With fury, Enlil was seized. With anger, he turned and left them standing. To Eridu, Marduk came, and his mother, Demkia, was summoned. The odd goings-on to verify of his father and brother he demanded. He decided to keep the hidden secret from Marduk, and Anu, by the civilized man, was very enthralled. He commanded all at earth on once to be satiated. So they only revealed part of the truth to Marduk. By Adapa and Titi, Marduk was impressed. He took a liking to the boys. While Ningazita was instructing Adapa, he said, let me be the boys' teacher. So Marduk did say to his father Enki and to Enlil, let Marduk teach one and let Ninurta teach the other. To them Enlil responded. In Eridu, Ningazita with Adapa and Titi stayed. Numbers and writing Adapa he taught. The twin who was first born in Ninurta to Bad Tibiara, his city took, Cain. He who in the field grows food, he is called. To dig waters for canals, we taught him. Sowing and reaping, he was taught. Now, this is the explanation as to why the Sumerians had literally overnight a perfect functioning society with agriculture and water and sewage and an economy and a government that were made up of the priests. They had it in one fell swoop. They had it overnight and disappeared overnight. A plow from the wood of trees Ninurta made for Cain. And he made it to be a tiller of the land. The other brother, son of Adapta, was taken to the meadows by Marduk. Abel, he of the watered meadows, was his name after that. How to build stalls, Marduk taught him for shepherding to start. The return of Dumuzi they awaited. When the Shar was completed, the Nibiru year, Dumuzi returned to earth. The essence seed of sheep for the growing of with him he brought. He also brought four-legged animals of Nibiru to another planet, to the earth. He conveyed. His return with essence seed was cause for much celebration. So right there's admits that they're bringing, animal species to earth for food purposes. Into the care of his father Enki, Dumuzi was returned his precarious cargo. The leaders then got together and considered how to proceed with the new breed. Never before was there a new ewe on earth. A lamb has never from earth or from the heavens been brought to earth and dropped. A she-goat has never before to her kid given birth. Here's my question. Does this finally answer? I think it does. Does this finally answer the whole conundrum of which came first, the chicken or the egg? I think it does. I think the chicken was brought here for food purposes by the Anunnaki. That's why we don't know which came first, right? Well, maybe not. I don't know, but it sounds good. And maybe next time somebody says, "Hey man, which came first, the chicken or the egg?" Just go. It was brought here by a fucking Anunnaki seed from the fucking planet Nibiru. Next. Some smart ass shit like that, Next. Anunnaki food brought here from Nibiru. Next. Weaving of sheep's wool has never before been established. The Anunnaki leaders, Enlil and Enki, Ninmah and Ningishita, were the creators. A creation chamber, a house of fashioning, they decided to establish. Upon the pure mound of the landing place in the Cedar Mountains, it was established. Near where the elixir seeds by Ninmah were brought and planted there was the creation chamber established. There was the multiplying of the grains and the ewes on earth had begun. Of Cain for sowing and reaping, Ninurta was the mentor. Of Abel, the arts of ewe and lamb rearing and shepherding, Marduk was the mentor. When the first crops were reaped, when the first sheep matured, let there be a celebration of firsts. Enlil, a decree proclaimed. See, this is where you start getting into the tradition of first, May Day, May 1st, blah, blah, blah. Oh, yet another tradition. Before the assembled Anunnaki, the first grains and first lambs were presented. At the feet of Enlil and Enki, Ninurta guided Cain for him to place his offering. At the feet of Enlil and Enki, Abel, guided by Marduk, placed his offering. Enlil to the brothers gave a joyful blessing. Their labors he extolled. Enki, his son Marduk, embraced. The lamb for all to see he raised, meat for eating, wool for wearing. To the earth have come, Enki said. Now this is the account of the generations of Adapta. And we know Adapta was the first, just to clarify who Adapta is, Adapta was the first boy, the first male born of the...
Hey, this is Enki. I'm here on the Global Reality. I've come back to tell you. Oh, that sweet earth pussy. It's so good, baby. I can't resist. Oh, yeah. I'm back.
Oh, Enki. But yeah, so he was the first result of the little hanky-panky alien sex going on where Inky decides to break him off, dip his spoon in the pudding for one more go, and he's the result of that. Now this is the account of the generations of Adapa and the killing of Abel by Cain and what thereafter transpired. After the celebration of first was over, there was a sullen look on Cain's face. By the lack of Inky's blessing, he was greatly aggrieved. As to their tasks, the brothers returned to them, and Abel was boasting before his brother. I am the one who brings abundance. I am the one who satiates the Anunnaki. I am he who gives strength to the heroes, who wool for their clothing provides. Cain, by his brother's words, was offended. To his boasting, he strongly objected. It is I who the plains luxuriates, whose furrows with grains makes heavy, and whose fields birds multiply, and whose canal fish become abundant. Sustaining bread by me is produced. With fish and fowl, the Anunnaki's diet I variate. On and on the twin brothers, each other disputed. Through the wintertime they argued. When summer began and it was not raining and the meadows were dry, the pastures dwindled. Into the fields of his brother Abel drove his flocks from the furrows and the canals to drink water. Cain was angered by this. He commanded his brother to move the flocks away. Farmer and shepherd, brother and brother, words of accusation were uttered. They spat on each other, and they fought each other with their fists. Greatly enraged, Cain picked up a stone and struck Abel in the head with it. Again and again he hit him until Abel fell. His blood was from him was gushing. Oh yeah, Cain and Abel, they always, they really should. Yeah, this motherfucker's, he's stoning this bitch to death. Bam, take that. You like that? That's more where that come from. Take that. He's just not stopping on him. He's going nuts. Blood was gushing from him. When Cain saw his brother's blood, he shouted, Abel, Abel, my brother. Motionless on the ground, Abel remained. Yeah, you beat his fucking brains into oblivion with a rock, dude. He ain't getting up from that. From him, his soul had departed. By the brother whom he had killed, Cain remained, and for a long time he sat crying. It was Titi who was shown of the killing first by a premonition. In a dream vision, as she was sleeping, she saw Abel's blood in the hand of Cain. She awakened Adapa from his sleep, and she told him her dream vision. A heavy sorrow fills my heart. Did something terrifying happen? So Titi did say to Adapa, greatly agitated she was. In the morning, the two from Eridu departed. To the whereabouts of Cain and Abel they went. In the field they found Cain. By the dead Abel he was still seated. A great cry of agony, Titi shouted. Adapa spread mud on his head. What have you done? What have you done? To Cain they shouted. Silence was Cain's answer. To the ground he threw himself and wept. Adapa returned to Eridu city, and he told what had happened to the Lord Enki. Enki confronted Cain with a fury. Accursed you shall be, he said to him. From the Eden you must depart. Among Anunnaki and civilized earthlings you shall not stay. As to Abel in the fields, his body cannot for the wild birds remain. As the Anunnaki custom is, he in a grave below a stone pile shall be buried. How Abel to bury Enki to Adapa and Titi show, for the custom was not known to them. For 30 days and 30 nights, Abel was mourned by his parents. To Eridu for judgment, Cain was brought. The exile sentence to pronounce Enki wished. For his deed, Cain himself must be slain, so Marduk said with anger. Let the 7 who judge be assembled. So did Ninurta, mentor of Cain, say. Who ever heard of such an assembling? Marduk shouted. that for one not from Nibiru, Anunnaki leaders shall be called to judge? Is it not enough that one by Ninurta mentored the one by me and that was favored has been killed? Is it not that as Ninurta and Anzu did vanquish, so did Cain in against his brother rise? Like the fate of Anzu, Cain's fate should be. His life breath should be extinguished. Marduk said in anger to Enki, Enlil, and Ninurta. Ninurta was saddened by the words of Marduk. She sat with silence. Let me with Marduk, my son's words, have words in private with my son, to them, Enki said. He went into private chambers with Marduk. My son, to Marduk, Enki softly spoke, your agony is great. Let us not agony with agony compound. A secret that is on my heart has heavily emburdened me, and let me tell it to you. Once upon a time, as by the river I strolled, the two earthling maidens caught my fancy.
Bow, chicka bow, chicka bow, chicka bow, bow.
By them from my seed were Adapa and Titi conceived. Yeah, I mean, according to this guy, he's pouring just, he's just walking around with just pitchers full of sperm, and he just walks over to some girls, spread them. And he just like poured, because that's what it says. Poured his semen into her. He just, hey, what's going on? Oh, it's just a pitcher of semen. Oh, would you like if I poured some in you? Oh, we could create a new species. It'd be great. Come on. Here you go. I wouldn't suggest trying that at the bars, though, guys. There was always that one guy that would, everybody's known this guy. Everybody's know this guy, and everybody's known somebody like this, guaranteed. This guy, he would go up to every single chick at the bar and go, and just straight up, just out of the blue, walk up to him and go, hey, you want to fuck? And he'd get slapped and kicked in the nuts, and he'd just keep going back for more, dude. Hey, you want to fuck? Get out of my face, creep. Hey, you want to fuck? And eventually, at the end of the night, you'd see him throwing up the deuces, dude, going out to the parking lot with some chick. Because eventually he got to one, and eventually one said yes. Oh, man. So a new kind of earthling, a civilized man, was brought upon Earth. Whether they procreate or were able to or not, Anu was in doubt. By the birth of Cain and Abel, the council on Nibiru and Anu were convinced. A new phase of the Anunnaki presence on this planet was welcomed and approved. Now that Abel has been slain, and if Cain too shall be extinguished, satiation will come to an end, and mutinies will be repeated. All that was achieved shall crumble. No wonder that you took a liking to Abel, the son of your half-brother he was. Now on the other one, have pity. Let the line of Adapa survive. So did Enki with sadness reveal the secret to his son Marduk. By the revelation, Marduk was at first astounded, and then he was overcome by laughter. Of your lovemaking prowess, it was much rumored to me. Now of that, I am convinced. That's too funny. Marduk's like, man, I heard you were a fucking pimp, dude, but damn, after that, to try to convince me, shit. I mean, you created these fucking humans out of nothing, and then you went and fucked not one, but two of them at the same time? You are a fucking pimp, Dad. Fuck. Indeed, let Cain's life be spared. To the ends of the earth, let him be banished. So did Marduk, from anger to laughter change to his father. He said, in Eridu, judgment upon Cain by Enki was pronounced. Eastward to a land of wandering for his evil deed, Cain must depart. That his life must be spared, that he and his generation shall be distinguished. By Ningazida, the life essence of Cain was altered. That his face, a beard, should not grow, Cain's life essence, Ningazida, changed. With his sister Awan as a spouse, Cain from the Eden departed. To the land of wandering he set his course. Now the Anunnaki sat among themselves and wondered, without Abel, without Cain, who shall for us grow the grains and make the bread? Who shall be the shepherd and multiply the flocks? Who will provide wool for the clothing? Let there be more proliferation by Adapa and Titi, so the Anunnaki did say. With the blessing of Enki, Adapa, his spouse Titi, knew again and again, one daughter, another daughter, each time and again were born. In the 95th Shar, a son Adapa and Titi finally had. Sati, he who life binds again, Titi him named, and by him were the generations of Adapa counted. In all, 30 sons and 30 daughters Adapa and Titi had. Of them tillers of the land and shepherds for the Anunnaki, they toiled. By them did satiation to the Anunnaki and civilized earth beings come back. In the 97th Shar, to Sati, a son by his spouse Azura was born. And we're going to leave off right there for tonight. Page 187. 187, motherfucker. 187, that's where we're going to pick up next time on the broadcast. And, well, it's just, again, getting more and more interesting. So many different correlations, so many great connections, so many things that, again, this is why people get so mad at even reading this stuff and putting it out there in the court of public opinion, because, it shows that what was put in the Bible and the narrative we're told about the Bible is simply a false narrative. And that we should be given the whole story on the true history of mankind, who we are, where we came from, who these quote-unquote gods really are and were. And to me, that's the fight. That's what we continue to have to push forward to try and find out among all the other things. All this other stuff is kind of secondary to that, but still important nonetheless. I'm going to pick up a little bit back from where we left off, just a couple of sentences from where we left off last time. In all, 30 sons and daughters Adapa and Titi had. Of them, tillers of the lands and shepherds for the Anunnaki to lead. By them, satiation came to the Anunnaki and the civilized earthlings, meaning they had food and water and things to survive again. In the 97th Shar, to Sati, a son by his spouse Azura was born. By the name Enki, in the annals he was recorded. Master of humanity meant his name. By Adapa, his father, writing and numbers he was made to understand. And who the Anunnaki were and all about Nibiru, Enki was told by Adapa. To Nibiru Ki, the sons of Enlil, he was taken. They taught him the secrets of the Anunnaki. How the perfumed oils for anointing Nanar Enlil on earth the eldest showed him. How the elixir from the Inbu fruits were to be prepared, Ishkur, Enlil's youngest, instructed him. It was since then that by civilized man, the Anunnaki were called lords. And of the rites of worship of the Anunnaki, that was the beginning. Thereafter, Enki to his sister Nom was born. See, right there, they tell you they're setting themselves up to be worshipped. They come right out and admit that. No hiding of that. Certainly, whoever the Anunnaki were, they wanted to be gods to period, to somebody. They set themselves up as gods. There's just no question. For by Nibiru in Bad Tibiara he was tutored. He learned of the furnace and kiln there. With bitumens, how to make fire, how to smelt and refine, he was taught. And the smelting and refining of gold for Nibiru, he and his offsprings toiled. In the 98th Shar, this matter of record came about. Now, this is the account of the generations of Adapa after Cain was exiled. and the heavenly journey of Enkim and the death of Adapa. Adapa being the, first proto-human, essentially. In the 99th Shar, to Cunan, a son was born. By Mu'alit, his half-sister Cunan, he was conceived. Malalu, he who plays, she named him. In music and song he excelled. For him, Ninurta, a stringed harp was made. A flute for him he shaped. Hymns to Ninurta Malalu played. And with his daughters, Ninurta sang to them. The spouse of Malalu, the daughter of his father's brother, was. Dunna was her name. In the 100th Shar, since the count on earth had begun, a son to Malalu and Dunna was born. He was their firstborn. Irid,